Greetings, friends. Today I will be exploring something that I have put off for far too long. A force of intense evil and immense power. I speak of the Lich. Well, my friends, the Lich is a very, very, very powerful monster. And if you are at the level in Dungeons and Dragons where you have a party that's high level enough to take on a Lich, it's gonna not go well for somebody. Almost surely somebody will die. So before we dig deep into the Lich, I want to say this word of thought for you to consider. Story. What I mean by this is that when we are considering using something so powerful as a Lich, you have to think about, are you using this as a monster, in the sense that you would throw this at the party and see what happens? I strongly encourage you to reference the idea of story, because I think above all, more important than just encountering a Lich is how you integrate a Lich into the story. This is the real fabric of high-level thinking. Because a high-level encounter has to be something that is meaningful, climactic. It has to be something epic. At high level, the stakes are high. And if you are going to have a Lich be involved in an encounter, you better know that this is a turning point in your story. Let's take a look at how the Lich is considered in the game, and then I'm going to share with you some ideas for how you can make the Lich an actual point of your story, an actual overarching theme in your story, beyond just a creature or a monster. So this suggestion came from James Woodwright a while back, and I've kind of put it off because the Lich is a tough thing to integrate. But let's take a look at how it's written. Liches are the remains of great wizards who embrace undeath as a means of preserving themselves. They further their own power at any cost, having no interest in the affairs of the living except where those affairs interfere with their own. Scheming and insane, they hunger for long-forgotten knowledge and the most terrible secrets. Because the shadow of death doesn't hang over them, they can conceive plans that take years, decades, or centuries to come to fruition. Remember what I said about the long game. To integrate a Lich well into your adventures, into your campaign, you have to think like a Lich. You have to envision this Lich maybe being part of your campaign when the characters are first level. I know it's shocking, right? Why would you think of a Lich when they're first level? You don't even know if they're going to make it to third level. By 10th level, the entire group of characters might be different. Yes, all of those things are true. But when you're thinking of a powerful creature like a Lich, you have to think of the world, not the characters playing in it. You have to imagine a living world where things are happening, different factions are doing things, different monarchies and kingdoms are evolving and changing and growing or being overthrown. You have to think of noble families plotting. You have to think of other groups of adventurers. You have to think of companies. You have to imagine this world is actually working and living and breathing and doing stuff all the time, regardless of what the characters in the party are doing. Now, when those characters in the party and that group is making an impact on the world around them, then they get onto the Lich's radar. But you have to think like a Lich. You have to think, if I had unlimited time to do things, everything that I did would be strategic. Everything that I did would be, cautious, careful, well thought out, because I have time where others do not. And I think that's a huge thing, because you can have little tiny hints of this Lich without even revealing that it's a Lich for like 10 levels. You could have like things happening, right? Other adventure groups that are competing with your party and, you know, trying to find these magical items, or maybe not even magical items, just like rare tomes. And you know, maybe your party finds this rare tome, they don't grasp the significance of it, they sell it to someone in a city, and that collector then sells it to an agent who brings it to the Lich, right? I imagine that in a storyline, you know, if you were looking at a book, right? If this were a book and the heroes of the book were your party, you probably wouldn't even know that the Lich exists until halfway through the book. But in every chapter, there's some hint that he's there. Whether it's through his minions, whether it's through some subtle clue that the party finds along the way, and they have no idea how it connects to the big picture. You're creating a mystery, and that mystery will lead ultimately to the revelation of this Lich and what that Lich intends to do. And then the party will make choices, and those choices will have an impact on things. Now, will they ever even encounter the Lich? Who knows? If they do, it would be at way higher level. But as I said in the beginning, if you intend to consider using a Lich, you must think of the Lich as an element of your story, not just a drop-in monster. That's why this is a very different episode of Monster Monday. There's no scalability here. The scalability comes in the servants of the Lich. The scalability comes in what ways you drop hints and clues for the party. But the Lich itself is not going to be scaled. This is a almost godlike creature with vast wealth and knowledge and access to magical power. Secrets of Undeath. No wizard takes up the path to Lichdom on a whim, and the process of becoming a Lich is a well-guarded secret. Wizards that seek Lichdom must make bargains with fiends, evil gods, or other foul entities. Many turn to Orcus, the demon prince of Undeath, whose power has created countless Liches. However, those that control the power of Lichdom always demand fealty and service for their knowledge. A Lich is created by an arcane ritual that traps the wizard's soul within a phylactery. Doing so binds the soul to the mortal world, preventing it from traveling to the outer planes after death. A phylactery is traditionally an amulet in the shape of a small box, but it can take the form of any item possessing an interior space into which arcane sigils of naming, binding, immortality, and dark magic are scribed in silver. With its phylactery prepared, the future Lich drinks a potion of transformation, a vile concoction of poison mixed with the blood of a sentient creature whose soul is sacrificed to the phylactery. The wizard falls dead, then rises as a Lich as its soul is drawn into the phylactery, where it forever remains. Soul sacrifices. A Lich must periodically feed souls to its phylactery to sustain the magic preserving its body and consciousness. There's a whole description of how it does that. Death and restoration. When a Lich's body is broken by accident or assault, the will and mind of the Lich drains from it, leaving only a lifeless corpse behind. Within days, a new body reforms next to the Lich's phylactery, coalescing out of glowing smoke that issues from the device. Because the destruction of its phylactery means the possibility of eternal death, a Lich usually keeps its phylactery in a hidden, well-guarded location. Destroying a Lich's phylactery is no easy task and often requires a special ritual, item, or weapon. Every phylactery is unique, and discovering the key to its destruction can be a quest in and of itself. So, I think that if you read the description, to me, this spells out an entire campaign arc. You, as a DM, simply need to choose where you want to start in this Lich's story. I'll give you some examples. You could start your campaign where the characters are a level 1, and this Lich is already a well-established power. It has its phylactery, it has its base of operations, and periodically it captures souls to sacrifice, etc., etc. And those little hints of its evil and its faction operations, and maybe how it sends out minions to go get collections of magical items, or books, or whatever it is, maybe that's how the party starts to discover this. And as they adventure along through your other adventures in the campaign, you have these periodic encounters, or even just hints at what this Lich is up to its faction is doing these different things, until you reveal through your story that this Lich is who they are, and that they are up to this stuff that they're doing, and that the party has somehow interfered with their plans. And now that's going to lead up to the party deciding that they have to stop the Lich, and they have to find out how to stop the Lich, and they have to find out what they need and the special ingredients to get, and the special items that they need to do the ritual, to destroy the phylactery, etc., etc. That's like dozens of adventures, right? That's the whole campaign. And then the boiling point is when they try to destroy the phylactery and they have the actual encounter with the Lich, and they ought to be pretty high level to do that. Okay, so with all of that said, here's another variation. What if the Lich is a friend? What if the party starts off as a bunch of first level adventurers, and they're going on adventures, and they do a mission for a very powerful noble lord, and after they complete the mission, they're introduced to a kind, friendly wizard who wants to become their benefactor. And the wizard is an old human. He's very knowledgeable, very powerful, but he's frail and old, and his health is failing. What they don't know is that this mortal wizard, who is very kind-hearted, above his kind heart is fear. And that fear is compelling him to explore things that are dark, forbidden secrets that he shouldn't be exploring. And so he employs the party to go out on multiple adventures to find these different things for him, never revealing that what he's considering doing is pursuing lichdom. And now the party has a moral quandary. They don't know yet. I would not reveal to them, but they are going out on these missions to help this guy acquire these different things that he's going to need to do the ritual. And ultimately, they will have done, X amount of missions, 3 or 4 different things that you set up, adventures, and they have acquired all these things, and he tells them that, he appreciates all their help, and, if there's ever anything he can do to help them, just to feel free to come to his tower, and he will always be there for the group. And then the group goes off. As the DM, you run multiple more adventures, and they kind of forget about this friendly old wizard because the party assumes that that story thread is done in the campaign. Then you set up something where they definitely need the wizard's help. Something involving a magic beyond their ability. They go to his tower, they find out that the tower's wiped out, right? Maybe it's overrun. And it's overrun, and whether they're intelligent enough to interrogate someone, they find out through whatever means in clearing out the tower that the tower had been abandoned. And now they have this mystery, what happened to, the High Wizard, and was he kidnapped, was he abducted? And they start to maybe investigate that. And that could lead them to discover that, he has disappeared, right? And while they're maybe investigating that, you have some faction encounter. So some minions of this newly reborn Lich have been sent to recover something, and the party is actually protecting the thing that they've been sent to recover. Or maybe the Lich now feels threatened by the fact that this party knows that he existed as a mortal, and they suspect that he's not dead, and he's concerned or paranoid, right? So the party might have a moral quandary that they don't even know about yet, because they don't know that their friendly old wizard has turned into a Lich. And maybe by this time they're 10th level, right? Halfway through the book, let's say. So there are a lot of different ways that you can integrate the party and the Lich. You just have to decide, at what point in the Lich's existence is the party going to be aware of the Lich? And I mean, those are 2 very big differences, right? In the first example, they start off their adventuring career at first level, and this Lich is already a well-established power. In the second example, this powerful wizard becomes their friend at low levels, and then becomes kind of a background NPC, and then disappears, and then, so there are ways to integrate this into your storyline, but it goes back to the central tenet of what I said in the start of the video. When you're thinking of a Lich, the key word here is story. You really have to evolve a story that's going to be a big part of your ongoing campaign. It doesn't have to be the only part. You can have many different factions. You can have many big bad guys. You can have, smaller, disruptive, chaotic encounters. But if you're going to include a Lich, you have to play the long game. And that can be challenging for newer DMs, which is why I'm sharing these tips with you guys. A Lich's lair, so this continues quite a bit. The Monster Manual has quite a bit of information on the Lich. But I'm going to kind of go over the whole Lich's lair thing, because at a certain point, way late in your story, this party will one way or the other have to go to the lair, whether it's to encounter the Lich directly or to try to find his phylactery and destroy it. A Lich often haunts the abode it favored in life, such as a lonely tower, a haunted ruin, or an academy of black magic. Alternatively, some Liches construct secret tombs filled with powerful guardians and traps. Everything about a Lich's lair reflects its keen mind and wicked cunning, including the magic and mundane traps that secure it. Undead, constructs, and bound demons lurk in shadowy recesses. A Lich encountered in its lair has a challenge rating of 22. Lair Actions. So if you're not familiar with Lair Actions, really powerful creatures, usually really higher challenge rating creatures, often have lair actions that are specific to it being in its home base, basically. On initiative count 20, the Lich can take a lair action to cause one of the following magical effects. The Lich can't use the same effect 2 rounds in a row. Here's the first one. The Lich rolls a d8 and regains a spell slot of that level or lower. If it has spent no spell slots of that level or lower, nothing happens. Wow, just regains a spell slot. That's crazy. The Lich targets one creature it can see within 30 feet. A crackling cord of negative energy tethers the Lich to the target. Whenever the Lich takes damage, the target must make a DC 18 con save. On a failed save, the Lich takes half the damage and the target takes the remaining damage. Wow. So that's kind of intense, because now it puts the party into a situation where by damaging the Lich, they could actually hurt one of their own. The Lich calls forth the spirits of creatures that died in its lair. This is another power. These apparitions materialize and attack one creature that the Lich can see within 60 feet. The target must make a DC 18 con save or take 15 D6 necrotic damage on a failed save, or half as much. The apparition then disappears. 15 D6. See, this is what I mean by power. If you're going to throw a Lich at a party, there's a good chance that people are going to die. People talk about like the powers, just the lair powers. Let's take a look at the stat block for a second, just to give you guys some scale here. So they have an armor class of 17, 18 D8 plus 54 hit points, damage resistance to cold, lightning, and necrotic, damage immunities to poison, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical weapons. Condition immunities to being charmed, exhausted, frightened, paralyzed, or poisoned. Legendary resistance. If the Lich fails a saving throw, it can choose to succeed instead, 3 times a day. Rejuvenation. If it has a phylactery, a destroyed Lich gains a new body in 1d10 days, regaining all its hit points and becoming active again. The new body appears within 5 feet of the phylactery. Wow. Spellcasting. The Lich is an 18th level spellcaster. Its spellcasting ability is Intelligence, spell save DC 20, plus 12 to hit with spell attacks. The Lich has the following wizard spells prepared. Cantrips, Mage Hand, Prestidigitation, Ray of Frost, Detect Magic, Magic Missile, Shield, Thunderwave, Detect Thoughts, Invisibility, Melf's Acid Arrow, Mirror Image. Let's just cut to the chase. It has Power Word Kill, Dominate Monster, Power Word Stun, Finger of Death, Plane Shift, Disintegrate. It just has a crazy amount of spells. Turn Resistance. The Lich has advantage on saving throws against any effect that turns undead. Actions. Paralyzing Touch, plus 12 to hit. 3d6 cold damage. The target must succeed on a DC 18 con save or be paralyzed for 1 minute. Legendary actions. The Lich can take 3 legendary actions, choosing from the options below. Only 1 legendary action option can be used at a time, and only at the end of another creature's turn. Cantrip. The Lich casts a cantrip. Paralyzing Touch. Frightening Gaze. Disrupt Life. Disrupt Life. Each living creature within 20 feet of the Lich must make a DC 18 con save against this magic, taking 6d6 necrotic damage on a failed save or half on a successful one. Oh. Again, I want you to understand that encountering this Lich for a party that isn't truly strategically prepared will likely result in multiple deaths, if not a TPK. So to circle back, Liches are story. They are story. If you're going to use a Lich, you have to play the long game. You have to think about what that Lich is doing during a campaign, even if the players in the party don't know about it. You write little notes every session. If the party went to the woods of blah, 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 and they defeated the evil hag, what was the Lich doing during that time? If the party went to a banquet at the Lord's Manor and met a bunch of people and then took on an adventure and went and cleared out the mines from blah, 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 what was the Lich doing? The Lich is always working. The Lich is always behind the scenes doing things. And when will the party intersect with the Lich? Are there multiple opportunities throughout your campaign, throughout your storyline, where the party can encounter minions of the Lich? And then at higher level, when does the party realize that, the Lich is up to something that can threaten the very balance of harmony and life in wherever they live? So the Lich is one of the most epic and powerful creatures. Tomb of Annihilation was based on Tomb of Horrors, which had a Lich as the central big bad guy. So when you think of using a Lich, be careful, be smart, take a lot of notes, plot out your ideas, but also fill in a lot and try to think of how this Lich will have longevity in your campaign, because it really does come out to be being an element of the story of your campaign and not just some big bad guy that you throw at a high level party. That would take away all of the things that make a Lich cool. So take your time, build it into your storyline, integrate it gradually into your campaign. You're crafting a mystery, and that mystery is, who is the Lich? Where is the Lich? Why is the Lich doing what they are doing? What is their ultimate goal? All of those questions have to be answered, and then you have to figure out clever ways to drop little clues and hints to entice your party into this campaign thread. And if they don't take the bait, then they don't. But in the meantime, you've integrated this into your world, and eventually those things that the Lich is doing will intersect with your party, and there will be a conflict that needs to be resolved. So one way or the other, use the Lich carefully, play the long game, integrate the Lich into your campaign, and you will have a very rich, rewarding experience set up for your party. Hope that this episode has been beneficial. Again, thanks to James R.A. Woodwright for the suggestion a while back. And if you guys have any interesting stories to share about how you encountered a Lich as a player, or if you were a DM and you've integrated a Lich successfully, feel free to share those in the comments below. We have a very friendly and active community that enjoys sharing ideas. Please consider subscribing if you don't already, and thank you guys for the likes and the support. We'll see you on the next episode.